Welcome back, this is Nerd Dad on episode 29 of our Factorio playthrough. And since last time, we've been working on a few things. We had a few production difficulties, but the main thing that I'd been working on was trying to get this bus back to full. And you can see now that it's fairly full, and we've done that through a few things. We've kind of had to throw a few things together. So kind of want to go over what we've been doing, what we've been working on, and move forward from there and look at how we're going to get ourselves to rockets. We won't be to the point where we're going to get the rockets going out as fast as we want, but we'll at least be getting them ready to go and start looking at how we're going to push that out to even further and where we're going to allocate that space from. So first of all, let's look at what we've been doing. And what we've been doing is a few things. We've got ourselves this bus filled up, and what we've done, let's get into map mode here, and let's pull that off just so we can see a little bit better. You can see I've labeled quite a few more things than I had labeled before, but the biggest thing that we've been doing is we've been trying to get this ore facility up and processing of our iron ore smelting quite a bit better than it was. We were pretty sporadic there for a while. You can see now it's full. Now it's full because I'm not really building a lot. That's part of it. But the other part is that we've added this new train station in here. And what we did here is we made it for to accept 3 cars. It would probably be better if it was 4 or 5 for the long term. But I'm thinking long term I may not even, this may just be a substation of sorts. So for right now, it's doing a good job. It's pulling. You can see we got the ability to bring lots of cars in here. We're only filling 2 cars at a time right now. And what we're doing is we're feeding the top end of this. We're really not feeding the back end. You can see these lines are, we're kind of waiting for that 3rd car because we're letting the this old ore processing plant that we have here, this old mine, it's still going along. I think it still has quite a bit of ore. It's still got 1.2 million ore. I think it started at 6. So you can see we've bled off most of it, but it's still getting the job done. I mean, this bit down here is pretty well done. We could pull quite a few miners off of here. But what we did do is we actually opened up the iron ore that was up in the north here that we had before. We just never done anything with it. It was just kind of sitting here. So you can see it's now sitting there. The lines are nice and full. So we're not really pressed for ore anymore. We've got it. We're going to need to be looking for another ore field eventually. I'm guessing, as we push on here, we'll probably push down into the 7.5 here would probably be the next natural. And I'd probably do it by bringing this line down here. Alright, so that's what we've done there. Let's go talk a little bit about what happened with our nuclear. We had a bit of a nuclear failure, I will say. For whatever reason, I hadn't connected something correctly. Actually, it was one little switch up in here. And what was happening was I wasn't getting the 238, which actually I'm just barely getting now. It looks like it just processed some. But I wasn't getting any at all. And so what was happening was once that line had, kind of bled itself off, this died out, and I didn't really notice, to be honest. I had thought that it was just not producing enough power, so I went out and expanded the whole thing into a 4-plex, which is nothing major. It didn't really cost us. We had all the materials sitting there. It wasn't a big deal, but then I actually ended up having to fix it. And fix it we did. The issue that we have here now is we've actually got too much 235, so we've got to find a way to bleed that off. We'll get into some building some nukes and some things like that. You can see we've got right now 3.2 waiting for a train. We've actually got another 3K sitting there. So we've got 6K of this. We also have the ability to pull off of here. There's actually a little bit of logic going on in here that if this facility with the creating the nuclear fuel isn't really getting what it needs, it'll actually spit some more out of there from this box here. And this box always keeps a bit of a reserve with some logic that we've got here. So we'll always have 235 for our fuel now. The 238 I've rerouted with a little bit of logic up in here. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of that. You can see I actually had to kind of expand this facility a little bit, so I'm sort of... We've got more than enough 238, so we need to start working on some uranium shells. We got a bit of military that we need to work on, but I've been wanting to push towards the rocket, and then I think what I'll do is work on that military. But we're kind of, doing pretty good with the 238, 235. That's not a problem for us anymore. So the other thing we were really struggling with for a while there is the plastics, and you can see right now it's nice and full. In fact, we have another train yet. We have actually got a 2nd train already waiting. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We had talked a little bit at a couple of points about the processing capacity of this. It's doing pretty good, but what you'll see is that the light oil is still backlogged. What we really need to do is we need to double down on this light oil to petroleum, because the petroleum we're just chewing up as fast as we can get it. We're you know, burning through it for sulfur, we're burning through it for petroleum. So I'll come in, we'll probably double this up at least, maybe even triple it, just to really make sure that, you know, we're getting all these oils converted as fast as we can into petroleum. We really don't need the light too much other than for rocket fuel, so I want to make sure we don't, you know, bleed it all off, but we have some logic going on there as well to make sure that that's done. So what else did we do for the plastics? Well, it wasn't just this we did, because you can see right now it's, you know, well, it's just kind of doing its thing. We actually did a big chunk of expansion. So we actually took a whole block of land right here. I was just going to take this little coal field here. But what I decided to do was just push it out so that we could keep pushing the bus out. We'd have lots of real estate. In fact, we, you know, wouldn't mind putting some artillery shells in here and starting allowing us for some expansion for some of the sort, because we're thinking long term here, right? We're not just going rocket here. We've always wanted, since we started this map, to make this sort of into mega base. We've been just going to start settling ourselves up here for this. This is about getting us rockets and getting us the white science packs, but once we get that going, we're going to want to constantly improve it, and we'll be probably starting building some modular bases as well. Speaking of modular bases, what we did was we actually came down here and we picked off this oil field, and we created our own plastic only oil facility. So basically the job here is just basically to create plastics. We create nothing else here. We convert product, but we don't build anything with plastics. You can see it's all nice and full. We've got the coal cars coming in. They're stopping. It's only one dedicated coal car. It does its job. It's going to that coal facility we talked about. We've got lots of plastic sitting in here. In fact, you can see we're just still having problems here as well with the conversion. So this is one of the things I hadn't really thought through properly. I think what we need to do is build... I need to build these a little different in the future, and maybe double this production when I'm starting to build these. But that's okay. I'm just kind of wondering why this hasn't really done its thing yet. Should be climbing slowly, but I think maybe I've capped it out. It looks like I've capped it out for some bizarre reason. I probably copied logic off the other one, so I'll probably just need to pull that logic off. But it's doing the job. We haven't had a problem yet. Just something I'll have to go take a look at. Nice little bit of uranium there as well. Haven't done too much with our artillery. I just used it to kind of clear this out. Actually, I just set a few artillery ranges, cleared this out, and then kind of built a wall around it pretty quickly. Only had to clean out a couple pieces in the middle. And that's kind of where we're at. So the question now is, where are we going? Well, we got a few things we got to do. Let's take a quick look, and we'll just get back out of map mode here, and we'll jump down in here. And let's take a look at what we need for our rocket parts. Actually, before we do that, let's quickly jump into research. I just wanted to show you that while we've been doing all that, we've actually learned all the base research. So all our research now is basically at the point of, you know, getting levels to the things that we can level up, i.e. our mining productivity, rocket strength, gun strength, all those types of things. So what I kind of do usually when I get to this point, I start looking and see what the cheap ones are and just kind of slowly build it up until I'm pushing in. There's no point for us getting into the white science pack stuff at this point. And there isn't anything I'm really needing. Our robots are working nice and fast now. The cargo size could go up, but we're not really doing a lot of logistics. Frankly, laser strength, you know, is great, but unfortunately right now we're pretty well maxed out there. So we've maxed out a lot of the things we want. So mining productivity is always a good one for us to go after. But we'll be playing with grenades and a few things, so I'm just going to slowly bring up these cannon shells. So we start getting some tanks with uranium tank shells and those kinds of things. It'd be nice to have these built up. Haven't even built on my tank, which usually I do early in the game. I just haven't even bothered this game, so there we go. So we'll get that research going, and then we're going to go back in and talk a little bit about what we want to do here. So what we've got is we got to get a satellite going together, and we don't have any solar panels or accumulators. We've been doing it all. We jumped right to nuclear. So I mean some radar dishes and some things. We already have the radar dishes for the artillery, so we'll probably just bleed off of there. But we are going to need to build a solar panel and an accumulator. And I'm thinking right now that it's very likely that what I'll do is, actually let's go back to map mode here really quickly. We'll probably come down to the end of the bus here, and probably push this bus out even a little bit before I do it. I still want to make sure I've got enough space for my military here, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing with this, but I have a feeling it might become a module component area. So I'm not really sure I'm going to build that. I'm going to kind of let what we do up on top of here, up on top. Let's just get rid of that for a sec. It depends how far this pushes along, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I know that when I've built rockets in the past, something like this, well, it's great, is often not enough. So it's very likely that what we'll do is we'll do something like this. We'll probably need to double down a little bit on there. But to do that, we're likely going to need to at least have one of these blocks. So we have these 2 blocks here. We'll need at least 1 block of reds, so there's a good chance that we'll do that. Our blocks of reds build their own greens, so we don't need to worry about those, but there is a chance that we might need to bleed some of these greens off, but we do have the bus to do that with. And the other parts that we need to worry about then are, just one sec, just checking some things out. We're going to need our low density structure, our rocket fuels, and other than that, we're in pretty good shape. So basically what we're coming down to then is what do we need to build for our rocket itself? Because those satellite components, those last 2 we talked about, the low density structure and the rocket fuel, are both part of what we need to build the rocket anyways. So we have a rocket control unit in addition to that. We're going to need to build those, and they need the blues and the speed mods. And if we just quickly look back here, we've actually got this already ready to go here, which is why I wanted more of the blues, and we might need to double this down. So it's likely that we're going to build that rocket control unit up here, and I'm speculating right now. I haven't really kind of got an exact idea, but it's going to be somewhere around there. We're also going to need to build our low density structure, which is going to take some plastic, and it's going to take some steel and some copper. Good chance that we can find a way to run that material up here, but I'm guessing most likely, just thinking about what we got coming in here, and the plastics are probably going to come along here. This might get moved. We might bump this over a bit. Let's delete that. Let's just move it over here a bit and put that in there. And let's just put our low density structure in about here for now. Okay, so we've got that going, and we're going to take a look, and rocket fuel. Okay, so rocket fuel is something that I've been kind of planning for since the beginning. When we started doing the oil, when we did the oil over here, we started putting oil into tanks. We talked a little bit about rocket fuel back then, I believe. The idea has always been that I would be able to ship off some of this light oil and ship it down to a facility, which won't fit in here because we've kind of used this up. So likely we're going to need to build a facility around here somewhere that's going to actually build us our rocket fuel. And it'll be somewhere like that. And so what I'm thinking is, now we've got the 3 components here, it's going to be very simple for us to build probably our rocket pad. I don't know. Let me just take a quick look. Where is he hiding? I can't remember. I have learned it, haven't I? I feel really dumb at this point if I hadn't actually learned rockets. I'm going like, I thought we had everything. What have we not learned? Ta-da, we've got it. Alright. Got it right. I'm trying to go like, what is going on? Where are you hiding? I thought you lived in there. I can never find this thing. I've probably been staring at it. It's like, oh right, he lives in the military. I always forget. Alright. Now at least we know where it's going to go. So what we're going to do is look in military and drop ourselves a rocket silo. So it's going to live about there somewhere. I usually like having around water. I don't know why. Maybe the Cape Canaveral thing is just something. But this time we might put it up there. I just need a place to make sure that I can get some rail lines down in here to do this. I also want to make sure that I can build enough of these items to expand that rocket silo. And that's pretty well it. So if we were to just kind of speculate right now and say down here somewhere we're going to need, where do you guys live? We're going to need some solar panels, And right next to them we're going to want to build some accumulators. And that should allow us somewhere up in here, I'm guessing, will be a satellite facility. And now it's going to be one building, so I don't need a great big block saying this is what it's going to be. But what we should end up with is an extended bus, a nice blue area here, and this facilities built in for the rockets. And we should be able to keep that all running now that we've got this all flush. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this a shorter episode. We just kind of want to do an overview of what we've done, where we're going, and what I want to do is quickly get this all pegged in and then come back and we will finish off the rocket together, get that done, get the satellite set up, and then talk about what we want to do to see maybe how we can expand upon how long it's taking to get those rockets launched. So we'll do a little bit of a time check on that as well. Looks like we might need a little bit more steel processing. You can see I'm running sort of a combo job here, so I'm thinking that's going to need a bit of an upgrade because we're going to start pulling on some steel here pretty heavily. Other than that, I think we're in good shape. So I really thank you for joining me. I know this has been a bit of a shorter episode. We really haven't built anything. We've just kind of gone over a few things. Next time we will do some building for sure. Thanks for joining me. I'm Nerd Dad. It's been episode 29, and I am out.